Hi guys, I'm Kasha. Welcome to the channel and welcome as always to our coffee times in reviewing together another film. So today I'm here to talk to you about The Empty Man.
It's coffee time.
So despite the movie's title that might remind you of beautiful movies like The Slender Man or The Tall Man or The Bye-Bye Man, which, let's face it, were not great, this one is nothing like the title will get you to imagine. I did not expect this movie to turn out like it did, so I am here to talk to you about what the movie is about, to talk to you about the things that I liked, the things I didn't like so much, and give you my final rating. As always, it's going to be spoiler free, so grab your cup of coffee. And before we go into it, if you're new here, if this is the first time watching my videos, please consider subscribing to the channel if you love movies and horror, and also hit the notification bell before you leave. The Empty Man is a supernatural horror thriller film written, directed, and edited by David Prior. It is based on Cullen Bunn and Vanessa R. Del Rey's graphic novel of the same name, published by Boom Studios. On the trail of a missing girl, an ex-cop comes across a group attempting to summon a terrifying supernatural entity. Now, this movie was filmed in 2017, but it did not see the light in VOD until 2020. And this is a movie that I have not heard way too many people talking about, but the moment that I had access to it this weekend, I decided, hey, this is one that I have to check out, despite this movie being quite lengthy, because this is a movie that goes over 2 hours. The beginning is giving you around 20 minutes of what seems to be a mythical origin, some sort of creature and some sort of supernatural entity. And this 20 minutes of the movie, I think, were really needed to plant the seed to really make it work. So that beginning, even though it seems like it's a little bit detached from the rest of the story at the beginning, it is really needed for things that are going to happen later on. The movie has a total of, I believe, 137 minutes. Now, that is really a long film, and part of the reason why the movie is so long is because it does have a very slow pacing that it might not be for everybody. But these first 20 minutes of the film, I think, even though it is something that happened in the past in 1995, I think it was really needed. Four friends are hiking on a mountain in the Ura Valley in Bhutan when one of the friends, Paul, hears something calling to him, and he falls in this sort of cave while he's investigating. So these friends go to help him get out of this kind of cavity, this kind of like cave that he's fallen into, and they find these kind of old, weird looking bone remains, and nobody thinks way too much about it, but Paul definitely starts to act really weird after that. And that is basically the first 20 minutes of the movie. I'm not gonna tell you exactly what happened because this is a spoiler-free review, but those first 20 minutes are really fundamental to understand what's gonna come later. Now, we fast forward to 2018 and we follow an ex-cop that is now investigating a case of a missing girl, a girl that he used to know, and so he gets really involved in the matter. And while he's investigating, he talks to her friends, and they tell him that they all have played a game to call the Empty Man. In order to call the Empty Man, you have to find an empty bottle in a bridge, and then you have to blow into the bottle and think about the Empty Man, and then he will come for you. First, you will hear him. The second day, you will see him, and the third day he's gonna come for you. So this is kind of setting up the movie to be your typical urban legend kind of story that we have seen done over and over again, but it is something that it might seem tropey, but the movie is so much more than that. I really enjoyed that they took the idea of this urban legend that has been done many times before. Like I said, it is very tropey, but they have tried to do something different with it, and I think they might have been perhaps a little bit too ambitious with their idea. And for me, the first like two acts of the movie were great, but when we came to the third and final act, I was a little bit disappointed by the way that everything was kind of solved and explained. I think they did a good job in many aspects. The director did a great job, the actors did a great job. I love the color palette. I love that they did go to tropey things like your kind of grumpy, rough ex-cop that lives alone, and it kind of like felt at times like your typical dark thriller that you would be even able to see in television, but it had a lot of interesting horror aspects to it, and there were many good achieved creepy moments, unsettling moments, eerie moments. There were times where you would see these empty man entity and it would be kind of creepy and unexpected. I think part of why the horror worked in this film is because not only did they do a good job with the atmosphere, but also with the light work that they did. It was something that worked not only at the beginning, those 20 minutes where we are in the mountains, in the snow, but they also were able to transport that kind of atmosphere to the city as well. The thing with this movie is that I think it's going to be too strange for a lot of people. It kind of goes a little bit into the cosmic horror genre, and I think that the biggest issue for a lot of people is going to be that by the time you get the third and final act, by the time you get to that resolution, it's not going to be satisfying. I don't think they did such a great job when it comes to wrap up the film and really give everybody that resolution that they needed. I think a lot of viewers are going to leave this movie not knowing what the heck they watched, not understanding the ending or what the movie was really about, and that is going to be really frustrating for a lot of viewers. I think part of why that third act might have been a little bit confusing or perhaps a little bit unclear is that the movie was trying to put a lot of different genres together, and that can always be a little bit tricky if you're not doing things right. And I'm somebody that I think sometimes less is more, and I think this movie would have, you know, benefited from that in this particular case. And don't get me wrong, I enjoyed this film for what it was, and I was engaged with the movie for the over 2 hours running time. I'm somebody that I think this movie does deserve a chance, but I'm just trying to let you know, guys, that I understand if a lot of people get to the end and they are really disappointed with it. This movie had moments where you thought you were watching your typical urban legend slasher story. Then you would think this is a mystery thriller with a police investigation. Then it kind of goes borderline cult sci-fi. Like, it is all a mixed bag of genres that for me it worked really well, but for me as well as for a lot of other people that ending was not extremely satisfying. I did understand the film and kind of the point of it, but I just felt like for your regular viewer, the way that the movie was wrapped up, it's not gonna make sense for a lot of people. I think the worst enemy of this film is the way that it was advertised as, you know, your typical horror film, and also that the name is very misleading, because when I read the name, I don't know if it's done on purpose, but when I read the name of the film, I was indeed expecting something similar to the Bye Bye Man, so my expectations were like down here. And then I went into the movie and I'm like, wait, the first 20 minutes when they end, you're like, wait, I like this more than I thought already. And those first 20 minutes were so strong. I really enjoyed them. And then the main character, our ex-cop, did such an amazing job. He was such a well fleshed out character that I was really living it with him, and I enjoyed the whole follow-up with his teenagers and the cult and everything. But the movie kept turning into something more and more complicated, more kind of philosophical in a way, more kind of into your cosmic horror. And I can understand that a lot of people thought this was your regular horror movie, and then when they watched it, they hated it because it was not what they were expecting. So personally, for me, like I said, I really did enjoy the film. I actually gave this one a 3 out of 5, which means I recommend you guys to check it out. I have kept my thoughts slightly vague about this movie because there's a lot of ways that I could spoil it for you, and I don't want to do that because I think you should go into the movie, of course, knowing not too much about it, especially about the main plot. But if you have access to the film, I recommend you to give it a chance if you're somebody that, you don't mind slow-paced, slow burn movies that take their time to tell you a story, to get you really invested. Sometimes I agree that movies benefit from being edited down. In the case of The Empty Man, honestly, I did not have the feeling while I was watching it that I was bored, that it was dragging, that it was too long. But I can understand why for some people it would have been better if you would have edited down a little bit, especially the third act. I thought it was perhaps a little bit repetitive at some point, but this was still for me a movie that I really enjoyed because it was nothing like I was expecting. It took the urban legend kind of trope and combined it with many other things that I enjoyed, and I like weird movies. After I watched this movie, I didn't give it a rating right away. It's one of those movies where I had to wait a little bit and let it sit. And to be honest, the more that I thought about the film after watching it, the more I discovered myself liking it. And this is also one movie that I think I might like to rewatch as well, because there is so many things, so many pointers to the ending that might have been hidden at the very beginning that I might have missed, because there is a lot of things going on in the film. Anyways, I hope that you guys enjoyed these spoiler-free movie review, and let me know down below if you've already watched the film, if you're planning to watch it. You can also let me know if you hated it. This is free speech here. Let's just talk about it and discuss it in the comments. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. Please give the video a big thumbs up for support before you leave, and I hope to see you all guys in the next coffee time. Bye.